This is one IP, right? Can you read it?
192.168.100.20.
Right. And let's say I write it 24, right? So what is this /24?
Subnet
Subnet. If I have to write it in a subnet
Network
mask,
bits. Network bits.
network bits, right? So now I have to write this subnet mask, what it will be? That's it.
255.
Sir, please explain for class A or class B, sir.
I will come to that. So don't worry on that. Whether it's a class A, class B, class C, you forget that for a few minutes as of now. I'm saying /24 is written, right?
Yes.
So this will be this. Got 24 bits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dot. 24, it's a 24 bits dot 0. Now 20, this is written as this in decimal, right? 255, 8 bits.
Yes, sir.
Understood or not?
Yes, sir. Understood.
Right? So first is we have to learn how to represent this. So if it is a 24, this means this. Now let's say if it is any IP, I'm not saying only this, I'm just taking this for your own exam benefit. Let's say I have written a 25, right? So now how I will write it in decimal subnet mask?
Two 255.128.
Right, 255.255.255.128. Very good. Why? Because 8 bit I have used here, 8 bit I have used here, 8 bit I have used here. Makes it 24, and 1 bit I have used here, right? So it makes 25. One is this. Right? So this is 128 in decimal. That's how you make this subnet mask. Now till here, if anybody has confusion here, then I can repeat this concept again. How to do this? So let's take, yeah. So let's take one more example. So I will just say how to write this 26 subnet mask. Let me hear it from next person. Okay. Kotela Sai Gopi.
Yes, sir.
Pardon? Absent?
Present, sir.
Present, no? So now tell me
Yes, sir.
this 26 how I write in subnet mask.
First 8 bits, second 8 bits, third 8 bits, last two, first 2 bits are 1, sir. Me remaining zeros.
Right? Now, so what it will be in decimal? In decimal, how you'll write? Total 8 bits in first octet, 8 in second, 8 in third, and 2 in last. So
Yes, sir.
whenever we say 8 bits, what will write?
255.
255.
Dot
Then,
255.
right.
Dot 255.
Okay.
Dot 192.
192. Perfect. Right. So let me ask you one more example. How will write it?
17. First to 8. to 125.128.128.0.
So it become 255 dot 255
250.128.0.
right? Perfect. Let's go to the third one. Sisti Anjana, you're there? Sisti? Satish, Lankan Mohan Satish.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So Satish, you are there. So let's ask you. How will put subnet mask for this?
Again the answer.
8 dot
8 dot. Now how many bits are remaining? 15 minus 8?
7
7 dot 0
dot
dot
0
0.
dot 0.
Right? Now 8 bit becomes how much?
255 dot
255 dot
254
54.
dot 0 dot 0.
Perfectly. Right? So just to give you an overview how to remember this. Whenever you say C8, it's always 255, right? Because there are only 8 things which we have to remember. If it's a 7 bit, it's how much?
254.
If it is 6, then how much?
252.
52.
253.
Right. And if it is 5 bits, 248. Right? Let's go to next person. After Satish, Molly Chonika, you are there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So Molly, you tell me if it's a 4 bit, then what will the number?
240, sir.
240. Very good. And what about when it's a 3 digit? Then
224, sir.
224. And then when it says 2,
192, sir.
192. And when it's 1, it's 128.
128.
Right? Exactly. So these are the 8 numbers which you have to remember. Everything in networking revolves around this 8 only. And if you see any other number in subnet other than these, you can say they are the wrong subnets, right? So let's take example, how to identify which are the false subnets. For example, if you see this written. Okay, so just I write few and then I'll ask you guys, right? 1 minute. Okay, so yes, tell me, first one is right or wrong?
Second.
Right.
Wrong.
First one is right, okay. Second is,
Wrong.
Wrong.
what is the reason of why it is wrong?
250.
Because of this
Third.
250, right? This is wrong.
Right.
What about third?
Yes, sir. True है sir.
ये true
सही
है.
है.
Wrong.
Yes, sir.
Let's
Third
okay.
also wrong.
Let's ask everybody. How many of you think it's right and how many you think it's wrong? 1 minute. Let me put a
Third one is wrong, sir.
third one is wrong. Yeah, very good. Who is this? Who
Tagore.
has the answer? Can you give me your name?
Tagore, sir.
Thakur. Okay. So tell me why it is wrong.
Because the second bit also should contain 255, sir. For 2 bit 128 means.
Exactly. So what happens is, just remember, before this fills till 255, this cannot go through the next octet. Right? So first this should go till 255, finish it, and then only it can go to the next octet. Once this fills to 255, then it goes to this. Understood? Any confusion?
Yes, sir.
No confusion, right? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's ask the next person. Yeah, sorry, anybody was asking something? Somebody was asking something? Okay, so roll number 434. I'm not sure, name is not written here for me. 19341A0434. Who is this? Can you see this name number? Okay, not there. Okay, Murli Krishna,
Yes.
you are there? Pativada,
Yes, sir.
right? Okay, Murli.
Yes, sir.
So how you pronounce it, like full name?
Patiwada
Prativada, right? So my pronunciation is okay, right? Okay. So Murli, let's come to our original question. Let's say this is a IP address. Currently, I'm not going into detail. It's a class A, class B, class C. Just let's go on, focus on our subnetting part, right? So this was, let's say, question. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And subnet for this was? Can you tell me subnet?
250, 255.255.255.128.
Dot.
128.
128. Right. Now, what we are supposed to know is, if this already I have given a IP here, 25.
Yes, sir.
So now we have to, question arise will be, what will be the broadcast address and what will be the network address for this IP address? Right. So I think Sumit has taken last class and taught you, right? What is the network address and what is the broadcast address of IP address? Right or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's say we want to identify this network address for this particular IP. How to find?
So I have to convert it to the decimal, the binary.
Okay, so that is a long method. Any short method is there? For example, let's say I don't want to go into a binary method and want to do it faster. So let me give you example. You take this subnet mask. What is this subnet mask? 128.
So,
Right? You take 256, you divide that subnet mask from 256. It will come 128.
yes, sir.
Right? And then what you'll
Yes,
do
sir.
is you write 0 and 128 like this. Okay, so let me rub it.
Yes.
Here you can rub this. I'm not sure how to make it bigger. Okay, anyway, so you write 0 and 128 here, and then you write IP.
Yes.
192.168.100.0, and again here also you put first three octets. 192.168.0.128 here, and then you subtract 1 from here. It becomes 192.168.100.127 here.
127.
Right, and then you here it will be like next will be 128 plus 128, 256. You reduce 1 here and you write 192.168.0.255. Right? So this becomes, now the 25 will come between this 0 and 100. So you 0 and 127. 25 will come somewhere here.
Yes, sir.
That means this is the network address and this is the broadcast address. Network address will be 192.168.100.0 and broadcast address will be 192.168.100.27. 127, sorry. right? Let's see it more clearly again with the new sheet. Let me take one new IP. Right. So what is the subnet for this?
255.255. 192.
192 here.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
250.
255.255.255.192, sir.
Yes. So here also 255 will come and here 192 will come.
Yeah.
Right. Now I want to find out network address and broadcast address for this IP. So as I told you, what you'll do is you take 256 minus 192.
256 on time.
How much it will come? 64. Right. Now you write here 0, 64, multiple of 64s. 128.
20
Next will be 192. Right. 56 plus. Or I'm wrong.
Right, sir.
Right. And then again you add 64. How
Sir.
much it will come?
256.
66. Right. And then you subtract 1 out of this. 63. Here you reduce 127.
127.
191.
191. 255.
255. Right. Our IP address was what? 100. Right. This was
100.
our last octet.
63.
Yeah. So
Yes,
it
sir.
will come between where? Here.
63 to 120.
No. Yeah. 63 to 126 are valid IPs. Your broadcast IP is 64. Your network ID is, network ID is 64. Broadcast ID is 127. And valid IP is between 63 to 126.
Yes.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
Now let's come to next. Jeevani. Jeevani are there? Maru, Vada? Not there? Nomika? Nomika, you there? Shrikant? Shrikant, you are there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah, Shrikant. So let's take the next question. So what is the subnet for this?
Sir, 255.255.255.240.
This is a subnet. Now, in which network address this IP will lie? So what is the first step? You minus 256, 240 from 256. It becomes 16. And then you write multiple of 16s. 0, 16, 32, 48. And so on, right? So where this IP will lie? 93.1? Shrikant?
Sir, 90 to 105.
Yes. 93 will lie here. And what will the valid IP range?
90, sir.
90. What is the IP range, valid IP range, which I can give to computers, which is any network device? What is the first valid IP in this network?
255.255.255.90, sir.
No. Not
91, sir.
255 is subnet. This is subnet. You cannot use it in IP.
Okay. 91 to
91 to
105, sir.
104. 5 you cannot use. 5 is a broadcast
Yes,
IP.
sir.
90 is a
Yes,
network
sir.
ID. You cannot use this. So valid is from 91 to 104.
Yes, sir.
So the complete IP will be 192.168.100.91. And it will keep on going till 192.168.100.104. So total, how many IPs we are getting here in this subnet? How many IPs are there total from 91 to 104? 14 IPs, right? And how you'll find out?
14.
Exactly. See, you have put out 16 here. You always minus 2 from this, and you will get number of hosts. For example, here 14. Let's say if it was 248 here, let's assume if this was 248, then 256 minus 248 will be 8, right? The number of your valid IPs will be 6 in that subnet. You getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So this is how you do the subnetting. Got it? Now, let me know if anybody has not understood this fundamental yet. Anyone? Still who has not understood this concept of subnet mask? Should I continue ahead? Guys? Yes, no, something?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, so let's go to the next step. So let's take another IP. Okay, so let's go to Akina Moksha. Not there. Manju Bhargavi. Manju. Okay. Parimela Pawan Kumar. Pawan Kumar. You're there or no? Let me check attendance today's. Guys, you have to be little active. Parimela Pawan Kumar, you are there. I am still not hearing your voice. So guys, see, one thing I think we should make clear, those actually are interested should do this, right? There's no compulsion on you guys, right? That you have to do this course or you have to associate. Only if you have interest, then you should come. Just connecting and either not hearing or not responding will not solve purpose, right? Either for you also, neither it's going to solve my purpose. Because why I'm insisting and again repeating the same topic, because two topics are very important in networking and they are basically like building blocks. You know, what happens is when you make a house, so your foundation has to be strong. Now, if your foundation is not strong, your building will not go high. So that's why in networking, two fundamentals, IP subnetting, IP concepts, and second is your switching concepts, VLAN and other things. These are two very primary concepts, because once you have this concept clear with you, then it's easy for you to build later fundamentals. So because like, for example, if you are doing to do some projects on this, Either it's a configuration base or it's a development or if it's a software or anything. Until unless you know, like for example, okay, so let's discuss. Because I had in mind, because in third week, usually we ask our guys to make, let's say binary to decimal converters or decimal to hexadecimal converters. Now, if you don't know what binary is and how the for logic works, then you cannot work on those concepts, right? Similarly, if I ask you to make a subnet calculator, now no developer can develop a subnet calculator until unless he knows what is subnet and how it is done, right? So that is the whole idea. So anyway, so let's go to the next person. Pavan Kalyan, Anda Warapu Pavan Kalyan. Sorry for my pronunciation. But Pavan Kalyan, you're there?
He's not present there, I
He's
think.
not there. Okay. Mala Mukesh.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Mala, let's continue with you, right? So this was the subnet which we have given. 172.168.100.125/18, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, can you tell me what is the subnet for this? Subnet mask?
255.255.255.192.
Right? Very good. 8 plus 8 plus 2.0, right? So that's how the 18 comes. Now, I have to find which network ID. What is the network ID and what is the broadcast ID? How I'll do? Hello? Any idea? Should I help you on this? Or you know?
256.192.
256. 192. Okay, so let's, yeah, that's good. To 256 minus 192, how much it will come?
Minus 92.
64.
64.
Right now, okay. What is the second step?
And
Second step was you write multiple of this IP 0, 64, 128, then what? 192, 220, oh no, 255 will come, 256, right?
yes, sir.
And then you subtract 163,
127, 191,
255.
255.
Okay, now what I have to see next? Third part.
192 minus 255.
That is okay. So now you have done. Now we have to see where our IP lies, in which subnet.
128 to 191, sir, in between.
128 to 191. Okay, because you have taken this IP, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let me tell you. What happens is you see subnet here. Your subnet is ending in which quadrant octet? Third octet, right?
Yes, sir.
So if your subnet mask is ending in third octet, you are supposed to take your third IP, not this. You will not use this, but you will use in whatever octet your last octet number is coming. So that IP you have to take. So what is the number here?
100.
100. So where 100 will lie? Here, right? In this?
64 to 120.
Exactly. So now that means what? Actually, network address is this, like this,
Yes.
last two octet, because last octet is .0.
Yes.
Sorry, this is 255. 255 because if you minus 1, it comes as 255. So what you have to do is you add these two octets in front. So this becomes 172.168.0.0 first network. 172.168.64.0 becomes second network. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So for a better understanding, let's take one more example. Okay, can you tell me subnet mask? What will the subnet mask? Subnet mask?
255.254.0.
Okay. Now next step. Next step is
256 minus 224.
yeah. So how much it will come?
32.
Okay, so you have to write multi-level 32. Next will be right, and so on. It will be, but I'll just writing here like this. So where your IP will lie? This IP. What is the network address? Which
0 to 31.
exactly? Because now you have taken this, and this is the IP you have to take. So here it will lie. This one. So this is actually this dot 0. Before this, you put 172.168.0.0, and here it becomes 1672. 172.168.31.255 will be your broadcast IP.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And this is of which class? This IP address is of which class?
Class B, sir.
Class
Class
B.
B, sir.
Right? So in the modern times, this only tells you which class it is. Otherwise, everything depends on this. So even though it's a class B, I can make it is a subnet of, let's say this is becomes /25, and I have divided into a class C IP, right? So that you have a lesser number of hosts in this. Let's take one more example. Okay, so let's take next one. It was Mala, right? Mala Mukesh, we were discussing, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's say Manjira. Navya Manjira. Kola Navya Manjira.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's take simplest example. Subnet mask.
Two 252.0.0.
So guys, have your notes also ready, handy, so that you can always just refer back and do this. Now that's what I say is the difference between what you are doing in school or colleges and what you will be understanding here. Here the thing is you should know the answer and you should know how to find the answer. No matter you have written in notes, you have a ready reference, or you have searched anywhere. The idea is to get the answer, right? And the more you will practice it, and then after a certain period of time, you don't have to refer that reference also. So very good. Now, what is the next step? In which, what is the broadcast network address of this IP address? What is the next step?
256 minus 252.
Right.
4.
4. So that means you have to take multiple of 4s. Actually, I don't have that much space. So you can just tell me what is the subnet in which this will lie and what IP address you will check. To verify which octet comes, which IP you will select out of top 10, 100, 25 and 100. Which one you will select?
100.
Okay, so this one you will select, right? And what is the reason?
Yes. 252 we have to select.
Yes, exactly. So what will be the IP address? If you can tell me, what is the network address? 10 dot, what will come? See, logical, you see, it's a multiple of 4, right? So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, this will go like this. So somewhere 40 will come, 80 will come, 84, 88, 92, 96 and 100 will come, right? So this will become this. And since 100 is already come here, so next will be 104 minus 1 comes here. So this will become 103.255.
100 to 103 between.
Exactly. So this is your network address and this is your broadcast address. And okay, so can you tell me
Yes.
someone can tell me how this 255.255 is coming here?
Broadcast address, sir.
This is broadcast address, but how it has come, you know? Let's take this example. Yeah,
Last host IP address.
exactly. So let's say I have taken 168 and this. We'll take the last example. 10 dot. So next network will come. Now we are supposed to write here after subtracting 1 from here, right? So if you say carry over 1 here, carry over 1 here, because then only you can minus one thing. Once you say carry over, this becomes 256. This is 255. This is 103. So when you say minus 1, it will become 10, 103, 255.255. You got it? You understand the logic? When you say minus 10, 104.0.0 minus 1, when you say minus 1, so what happens is, since this is 0, let me take. This was this, and you're supposed to minus 1 from here, right? Now can you subtract 1 from 0? Cannot. You carry over from 1 from here. This will become 256. Right? You carry 1 here. This will become 256, and this becomes 255. And once you are carried here, it was 103. So now you can subtract 1. 10, 103.255.255. That's how you subtract 1 here. Here the broadcast address will be. Right? So let's take an example. The next person. Okay, Krishna. Porilapu Vamsi Krishna. Krishna available? No?
Yes, sir.
You are there?
Yes, sir.
Krishna? So what
Yes,
happened,
sir.
Krishna?
Hello. Sir. Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Little background is there, but yes. So let's take an example of 10, 25, 100.0. And here let's take example of 25.104.0. Right? So Krishna, tell me, if I subtract 1 from this, what will come?
10.25.103.255.
25.103.255. Perfect. Can you tell me what, by looking these two IP addresses, network addresses, Can you tell me what was the subnet?
Two 255.0.
Okay. Sorry, 255 dot. Now I'm going in the reverse direction because I have already given you the 2 network addresses. I'm asking you the subnet mask. See, you have to see here. The last one before 0. It's 100 here. It's 104 here, right?
Yes,
How
sir.
much it is increasing? Network to network?
4.
4. Right? And when 4 comes? How 4 comes? When it is subtracted from 252, right? Then only 4 will come,
Yes.
right? That
Yes,
means
sir.
this 252 is your subnet mask. So this will become 255.255.252.0. In other words, it is 8 plus 8 plus how much this is? 252 is how much? How many bits? 6 bits.
6.
So how much is the subnet mask?
22.
22. Got it?
Yes.
So let me give you one more example. Okay, so what will be the subnet mask for this?
Difference is 16.
Okay, so what is the subnet mask?
244 bits.
What will come here?
255 dot
Tell me.
1.
What is the second octet? 255 dot
12.
12.
12. No, sir.
Then, please see
255.255.
2. Okay, let's see the calculation again. See here what it was. 32, 8 is 16, right?
16.
So how much is the, so see this thing is this way. 256 minus x should be 16, right? What is the value of x?
240.
240, right? So that means what should come here? 240, right? Here 0 and 0. Now if I put it in terms of slash, how many bit is this is? 8. How many bit this is? 240 is what?
4 bits.
No. Sure? Sure? Don't get
Yes,
confused,
sir.
you're right or the wrong. Batao. Four or what should I write?
4.
4.
4.
Then should say confidently, right? How much it will become? Subnet mask? 12. Understood? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. So let's take one more example. Okay. Tell me. 10.10.10.0 and 10.10.11.0. Hello? You tell me what the next step I have to write.
11 minus 10.
11 minus 10 equals to 1, right? So 1 means what? Next step is
255.
this becomes 255, right? So what the subnet mask will come here?
255.
Okay. Next. Tell me. See, because this was the last for which we have found this, right? So this was always for this. That means if somebody is there before that, all has to be 255 only. Remember, we discussed last time. Because if something is coming here, that means before all that, digits are already full. Got it?
Yes.
So this becomes what? Slash?
70.
Huh? Slash?
17.
17. How? How much bit is this? 8 bit?
8.
How much this is?
8. 8.
And how much this is? 8. So how much it will come?
24.
Then why you are saying for 17?
I added the plus.
Okay. So this concept is okay. So if these if no other query in this, if you're okay, let's ask one more guy and then we'll go to the next concept. Okay, so let's go to Akash, right?
Yes, sir.
So Akash, you understand the concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's take this. Okay, so what will the subnet mask and what will be the network ID?
255.0.0.
Okay, so what will the network ID?
172.0.0.
172 dot
0.
0, right? And what will the broadcast address?
172.255.255.2.
Great. Right? Very good. So now let me ask you the application of this. So now I think I assume that concept of subnetting is now at least you can understand something, right? Now let's say practical example of why I asked you this. Let's say Mr. X is one person. He has a laptop and his IP is 192.168.5/252. Okay. Got my point? And this is connected with another laptop. This IP is 192.168.1.1/252. This is Mr. Y. You understand the question? Or that there is a one Mr. X whose laptop IP is 192.168.1.5/252, and there is not its laptop is connected to Mr. Y laptop whose IP is 192.168.1.1/252, right? Why I'm writing 252 is it's actually 255.255.255.252. Okay, or I can write it as what will subnet mask if I write it in under in that slash part. What will come? 20
30. 30.
29, right? Or 30, sorry, 36. So it will come /30, right? Here also it will be /30. Now tell me one thing. They will ping, they will communicate or not communicate? Okay, to check this, let's check what will be the broadcast network and broadcast ID for this IP. If it is /30 here. Hello. Yeah. Anybody who has solved it can also speak. Let me know what is the network address for this.
192.168.1.4.
1.4. This is the network ID. And what will the broadcast ID?
192.168.1.
1 dot. 1 dot.
7.
8.
7.
7.
8 will be the next. Okay. Now tell me one thing. This 1.1 will come in this network or not? Because here only 2 usable IPs are there, right? 4, 5 and 6, right? Because 4 is one IP network ID. Under this 5 and 6 will be 2 IPs which will be usable, and then 7 is network broadcast. For this, network ID will be 192.168.0.0, sorry, 1.0, and broadcast IP will be 192.168.1.3, right? So that means this IP is in a different network. This IP is in a different network. They will not communicate, right? Because the concept is for devices to communicate each other when they are directly connected, they has to be in the same network. You got this idea? Let me see. Let us see one more example. Same example. 192.168.1.4 was your network ID, right? Your first usable IP was 192.168.1.5/30. Second usable IP was 192.168.1.6/30. And then your broadcast IPs, which you cannot use, 192.168.1.7, right? Now, if I ask the same question another way, that one laptop has this IP, it wants to communicate to another PC. What IP I should give him? Tell me. If one side Mr. X IP is 192.168.1.5, what should be Mr. Y IP if they want to communicate to each other in the same network without any extra device?
192.168.1.6.
Exactly. So 192.168.1.6 should be its IP. Then only it will work, right? And when the devices which works, when they are in the same network, they are supposed to be in a LAN working on layer 2. That means what? In same network. You understand this concept? That if two devices want to communicate to each other without using a separate device, that device is called router basically. If you want to communicate between these two different networks. So the concept comes here, says after seeing all this, what we understood is if two devices are there, which are the IP1 and this is IP2, they want to communicate each other and there is no other device available with them, then they have to be in the same network. Same network. Same network means their network ID will be same, which we have just find out, right? So all those examples which we have done was to identify what is your network address. So if network address is same and IP, both the IPs belong to the same network, they will communicate. And this type of communication is called layer 2 communication in same network. Same network. right? And let's say example, if this was in network 1 and this was in network 2, and if they want to communicate, then how they will communicate? Anybody has idea? If let's say both are in different networks, what device you will be using? Anybody?
Router.
Router, exactly. So that means you are supposed to connect a router. And you know how router will work? Router will have two interfaces, one which will connect here and second interface which will connect here. So to have this IP configured on router, this and this IP will be in the same network. And to configure this port of the router here, these two will be in the same network. And router will use something called routing protocol to make packets from one network to another. That is another concept which we will see later. But till here, concept is okay. You able to understand? Akash?
Yes.
You're able to understand. So tell me, what is a layer 2 device? How you will find out these two devices are in a same IP address network? How you can identify? Nishtala?
Sir,
So how you can identify if two computers are connected together and they are able to send communication to each other? So how you can find out they are in layer 2? For example, let me rephrase. They are in layer 2. They are working on a layer 2. How you can identify by seeing two computers?
IP address should be in same networks.
Same network, exactly. And if they are in different networks and still working together, then that means what? If let's say two computers IP
We
address
have
networks
used
are
the router.
exactly. That means the traffic is routed through a router. So that means now we
Router.
have two concepts. So that means what? We have two concepts now. If this is PC1 and this is PC2, right? And if they are in the same network, here also is the network 1, here is the network 1. And if they are working together, right? So that means communication is on layer 2. They are in the same network. And the device, if they are far away from each other, they require switch to connect to each other. Right? It's a layer 2. Right? And for example, let's say there is one more PC. It is in network 2, but you found that these are PC1 and PC2 are able to connect to PC3. That means what? It must be coming through a router. Right? Or if you go little advanced, it can be switch at layer 3. Now there are switches in modern technology which can route traffic. Also, that means what? These are called basically hybrid switches or L2 plus. There are many names which are given. That means a switch also function at layer 3 or maybe advanced switches which works on layer 4, layer 5. So ultimately you should understand that if different networks are communicating, it's going via layer 3. You have learned ISO layers, right? In previous classes, physical layer, data link layer, right? Your network layer, transport layer, so all those. So layer 3 is between two this. If it is working in same network, traffic is going on layer 2. That means your second layer, data link layer. You get your point? Nishtala?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's give one exercise for you. This is PC1, right? This is connected with switch 1, connected with PC2. This is connected with the router and then PC3. Right? This PC IP is 172.168.10.10 slash slash 20. Right? This is PC1 IP. Hello? You're able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Nishtala? Yeah. Nishtala, right?
Mr. Rav, yes.
Yeah. So this is IP address 172.168.10.40/20 subnet. Now, what should be the IP address of PC2? Can you tell me? Other,
172.
Yeah, please tell me 172 dot.
168 dot.
Mm-hmm. One 68 dot.
Eleven dot 4.
11 dot. Okay, tell me what is the network address you found for this? Network address. Can you tell network address for this?
172 dot.
Mm-hmm.
168 dot.
Mm-hmm.
0.0.
0.0. Right. And broadcast address.
172 dot.
Mm-hmm.
168 dot.
Mm-hmm.
31.
31. Sure. What is the subnet you have taken here? 240. 255.255.
224.
224. But 224 is 3 only, no? 8, you have to take 4 bits. Right? 4 bits. What is 4? 128, 192, 224, and 240. So 240 will come here. Right? See, this is 20, right?
Okay.
8, 8, 4. You should remember this way. 1 is 128, 2 is 192, 3 is, tell me, 224, 4 is 240,
240.
5 is 248, 6 is 252, 7 is 254, and 8 is 255, right? So this is 240. So what is the subnet
Yes, sir.
broadcast IP will come here? 172.168 dot
15.
15 dot 15 dot
255.
255 exactly. So that means what? Now I can give this is 10.40. I can give this PC as 192.168 10.41 also. Right? Next IP. So this will also lie in the same network. Now what about this PC3? What IP I should give him? PC3. This is important concept. Now what IP I should give it for PC3? Because in between, see, router is connected, right? So that means it has to be different
Sir,
network.
as it is connected to router,
Yeah, see, because it is connected via
we
router.
can give any another network.
Another network, exactly. So what should be the other network? You give me any IP.
172.168.
Yeah, 168 dot
30.
30 dot. Anything I can give, right? One, for example,
10.
right? But just to avoid wastage, no, what you should do is next network starts with 172.168.16 dot, right? Something. So let's say 16.1 I give, because 30 again is okay because it's coming under only, but so many IPs we are leaving. So just for simplicity, maybe we can do this. Otherwise, your answer is also okay, right? So let's take a
Yes, sir.
next person and see. Uh, Vara Rajkumar. Vara? Sanda. Nala Vara Rajkumar. You are there? Jivna? Jivna
Yes, sir.
Sravanti?
Yes, sir. I'm present.
Okay, great. So let's take similar example for you, right? You have PC1 connected to a router and connected to a PC2. IP. Okay, so what happens is my professor gave me IP range 192.168.100.0/24. Okay, now he wants me, ki boss, you divide and you distribute. Okay, so now this is the bigger subnet you have, and I am supposed to now divide it and give some IP to these two PCs when they are connected with the router. So what IP you suggest? Now this is the third concept. So already two we have seen how to do subnetting. Now we have seen that if switch are connected, the IPs has to be in same subnet, and if it's a router, it has to be another, right? And we were, finding out subnet mask. We were finding out network ID, and we were finding out broadcast ID. Now come to a real problem scenario, real world scenario problem, where you will have a bigger subnet mask with the organization. Let's say this is the IP subnet which the organization is using, and then they will have different network internally. For example, let's say this is your finance department, and this is your let's say HR department, and they don't want that any traffic should directly go with them without a router. So they required two different networks actually, which has to come out of this only. That means that dividing a bigger network into a smaller networks, which is actually the subnetting which we are doing so far. So can you divide into smaller subnets and tell me?
Yes, sir.
So what do you suggest? What we should do if we have only two networks to build? Hmm? See, before that, we were seeing that once we divided for example, this I was dividing, minus subtracting, and then I was calculating this. And I was saying that if you subtract 2 out of this, these are number of hosts, right? That means if you have subnet 224, you have 30 hosts in that. But then how to find how many networks it will build? So what you used to do was you take the network bits. For example, in this case, 3 were your network bits, right? 224 is 3.
Yes.
So that means what? 8 networks it will build. Right now here I want to build only 2 networks.
Yes.
Here I want to build only 2 networks. So how many bit I should use if I want to divide this? So I'm supposed to divide into 2 networks, right? Network 1, network 2.
Yes, sir. So 2 bits.
Right? In fact, even 1 bit is okay. Because 2 to the power, if you take 1, it's 2. 2 networks I can get.
Yes, sir.
Right? So if I use 1 bit to make this network, so this will become what? 24 plus 1. Network will become 25. So if that means if 192.168.100.0/25 will come, what will the network addresses? 2 network addresses. If 25 comes here, yeah, tell me. Because 25 is what? 128.
Yes, sir. 128. 225.225.225.128.
Right. So what will the 2 networks which will make? So this will be 192.168.
168.
One will be 0, and second will be 192.168. 100.128. Right? These 2 networks will build. Now that means what? I have to give one IP from this network, and second PC I have to give IP from this network. Can you suggest one IP in PC1 from this network? From this network, can you suggest one IP for this PC?
Yes, 192.168.100.0.
100, no, 100.1. Because 0 you cannot use. 0 is your network ID. You cannot use network ID as IP. So it has to be 1.1. So 192.168.100.1 will be this. And what about this?
And for that 192.
So you can give the next IP for this 192.168.100.129.
Yes, sir.
Right? 168.100.129. Right?
Yes, sir.
So that means this, then only this will work. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hari Prasad, you are there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Hari, let's take similar exercise for you. Again, same thing. Here PC1 is connected, but instead of router, I am taking a switch. PC2, and I have been given 192.168 dot 0.0/24. Okay. Here subnet I have been given. So tell me what IP I should give here and here. PC1 and PC2 IP.
192.168.0.1 190 PC2, sir. 192.168.0.4.
Okay. And what is the reason of giving them same network?
Yes, sir. Both are in same network.
Great. Now let's assume key instead of switch, they are in using router here. Okay, so now what will IP address here? This IP will be same or this will change?
Change, sir.
Okay, so what will IP here then in that case?
192 dot
Hmm.
168 dot
Hmm.
0 dot
Hmm.
129
129 slash subnet will be
25.
20
5, sir. 25.
25, because that is the difference I want to show. In first case it will be both 24 and 24, because you no need to do subnetting because they were in layer 2 that time, right? Switch ke through. Now second case it is going through router, so here IP address will remain same, but subnet will change. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Sometime what happens is in network, this is the biggest general error people do. On this PC, they will give this IP address 192.168.0.1/24. But here they will give 192.168.0.129/25. Right? Now, technically, nowadays routers are so advanced that they understand this difference. And they find out that yes, this IP belongs to subnetted IP from this only, right? And they treat it as 25 automatically. But for case of study here, we should ensure it, we should be more as much correct as possible. We should give always subnet 25 here in this side. Because traditionally, if you use 24, your router will not work because they are in different networks. But in current modern time, if these type of small errors are there, where one network is part of another network and they are not conflicting, then the router auto corrects them. Right? Because for this network, this is not conflicting with this 129, because even if it is 25 or 24, this 1.1 IP is separate. So the router will treat it as 25 and then route the traffic. But technically it's wrong. Always should change the subnet when different PCs are connected to a router rather than through a switch. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So that was a good answer, Jeevna. Let's go to Hari Prasad. Kumili Hari
Yes,
Prasad.
sir.
We were talking to you only or before that Jeevna?
To me only, sir.
To you only. Okay, sorry. Kalyan Kumar, sorry, Tejasvi. Betha Tejasvi. Tejasvi, you are there? No? Kalyan Kumar?
Yes, sir.
So, Kalyan, have you understood this concept which we have just discussed so far?
Yes. Yes, sir. I understood.
Okay, so let's take a practical example. Your university has a range 192.168.100.0. Okay, /24. Your college has been given this IP address. You are a head of IT department and you have been told कि now we have different departments coming up in the university. So now please ensure that all departments should have at least 10 computers. We don't know how many net departments come in future, but at least keep a resources that if a department comes, we should be able to give them 10 IPs. You get my point? So
Yes,
10
sir.
IPs each department should get. Right? So tell me what subnet mask you will use so that you get a mix of, tomorrow it should not happen that if more organization department comes, you don't have IPs for them. And it should not also happen that if you divide it so much that if let's say tomorrow up to 10 number computer comes, then they don't have IP left. Getting my point? So divide it such a way
Yes,
that
sir.
minimum 10 IP should come, and you divide into different departments. So can you tell me how many departments you can make, and in each department how many IPs you are planning to give?
I can use the subnet of 28, sir.
Okay, you are saying 28 subnet you'll use. So how many networks and how? Okay, first let's see how many number of hosts you are getting in each network.
14, sir.
14 you're getting. Very good. And then how many networks you are able to make?
16 networks.
16 networks. Very good. Right? Absolutely right. So assuming you got the concept right, this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So actually my plan was today was anybody left with whom we have not discussed today? Any person? Nala, Shruti, and I think Renuka Kole. Kula.